Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Thanks for clicking on the video. This is episode 3 of the MMA show. It's been another hectic week in the world of combat sports. So much for us to talk about, from changes to the upcoming UFC pay-per-view, which has actually ended up making the card better, in my opinion, as well as the upcoming Misfits card on the weekend, which is actually, I'm almost ashamed to say it, but I'm looking forward to watching that co-main event between Dillon Danis and Logan Paul for all of the obvious reasons, right? But before we get into that, I'd much prefer for us to talk about some real shit, right? Let's talk about the upcoming pay-per-view. Believe it or not, I don't even think I'm in the minority when I say this card has actually gotten better because of the replacements, right? So let's start off with the co-main event. Paulo Costa in a fight against Khamzat Chimaev, which I was actually really fucking excited for. I actually thought Paulo Costa was a bit of a dog in this fight. If I was a betting man, I would probably bet money on Paulo winning this fight. Not because I think he's the favourite, but because I think as a dog, he has the skill set anyway to at least make that fight a scrappy one, right? And we've seen how Khamzat, when he got put against Gilbert Burns in a real scrap where he wasn't able to just steamroll through him, it was made to be competitive, right? And I think Paulo Costa, given his size, given his ability to brawl, given his ability to grapple even, right? From his fight against Luke Rockhold, that was like a real fucking eye-opener for me to see how well he was on the ground with Rockhold. It was someone who I hold in like the highest regard in terms of grappling. So again, I was just so excited for that fight. But for Paulo to come out, be pulled from the fight, he'll say, oh, I was willing to fight, I come from Sao Paulo, I have infection on elbow, I don't care. He knew what he was doing when he released that information. He knew that would end up with him being pulled from the fight. And the replacement in Usman is a fucking phenomenal one, and fair play to Usman for taking this fight. He's on the back of 2 losses, a third one in a row could really put the stamp on his career, even if it is against the most elite guys in the UFC, right? Like back-to-back losses against Leon Edwards, followed by a loss to Khamzat Chimaev, you know what I mean? On paper, you can't really discredit that guy too much because of those losses, but geez, like, it never is good for anyone. I don't care who you've been fighting. 3 losses in a row is significant. And usually after 3 losses in a row, you can mail your hopes off for a title shot to fucking Zimbabwe, because you're never getting that shot again for most people. And I do think that'll be the case for Usman should he lose to Khamzat, which is what I'm predicting. I saw a video of Usman hitting like one of those punching machines the other day. You know what I'm talking about? And it looked like it fucking hurt Usman to just wind up and swing a punch. Like, he looked like he was doing the robot. You know how it's like almost it's like mechanical. It wasn't smooth at all. And I'm not exactly, it literally looked like it hurts him to throw the punch. So I think Usman's fucking done out here. I expect Khamzat to probably finish him on the feet, believe it or not. If prime Usman was to turn up into this fight, I would have a much different opinion on it. I just think Usman is fucking a broken man. He's been through wars and his knees don't work. He looks like it hurts him to even get up and train. So with that all being said, I suspect Khamzat Chimaev will get him out of there within the time limit. Probably on the feet, because I think their wrestling will cancel out each other's. So yeah, that's my prediction for that fight. Again, fair fucking play for Usman on taking this fight, because it's going to be a war, and he knows that. There's no way he can come into this fight thinking, yeah, I'll avoid damage, I'll wrestle him, I'll take him down. No, he knows damn well what he signed up for in this fight, and for that you have to respect him. As for Paulo Costa, I have no idea what you do with him now, because, if you look online, the long list actually of cancellations he's had in recent years is becoming an issue, and I can't imagine the UFC is happy with it. He's pulled out of like 5 or 6 fights in the last couple of years alone. It's really quite a shit show, and it's a shame, because this was it's a co-main event of a big pay-per-view. There was a lot of weight on Paulo's shoulders in terms of that, but man, what a way to fuck it up. I just don't know what you do with him anymore. I don't know how you can trust him giving him a big fight, if they even do give him a fight again in the UFC. If they do, I suspect it'll be against someone that makes no sense for him, right? Like a Bo Nickel, someone who's not ranked but a dangerous motherfucker. I wouldn't be for that in terms of matchmaking. I think you need to take your time with Bo Nickel, but you see the point I'm saying, right? Like, they're gonna fucking feed him to the dogs 100%. And that's a shame, because like I said, I enjoy Paulo Costa's fight style. I love watching him when he's in there, but he really shit the bed on this occasion, to be honest. Onto the main event now. Another absolute BMF in Volkanovski is stepping up to fight Islam Makhachev on, I think it was 10 days notice, after Charles Oliveira pulls out due to a massive gash on his forehead / like eyebrow. Damn, firstly, heartbroken for Charles Oliveira, right? I think in that win streak Charles Oliveira went on in recent memory, and as well as his championship reign, I think he gained a lot of love from the fans, myself included. You really just see him in a different light now. You know, they shine his history in the limelight, you know what I mean? You understand where he came from, the fucking favela of Sao Paulo, you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible not to love Charles. He just seems like such a nice and genuine guy. He's always smiling, and he fights like a fucking animal. He fights like a bat out of hell. And so, again, that was a fight I was looking forward to. I don't think the real Charles showed up in that first Islam matchup, which was a shame. I think he started losing the exchanges early in that fight, and I think he just kind of lost hope, and that shined in his performance basically. But I think coming into this rematch, he would have had an entirely new mindset and came in there ready for war, and I was expecting a much better fight the second time around. I'm not necessarily convinced he would have won, but I think it would have been a much better fight. But again, for him to now be, having to pull out of this fight, I was heartbroken, because I'm pretty sure Gamrot, the Polish dude, was the backup fighter for this fight, and the UFC said, nah mate, we got a better guy in the works, and they pulled up Volkanovski, and like the absolute G that he is, he just rocks up. Yeah, I'll fucking take the fight, mate. I just had hand surgery 3 months ago. I've been chilling on the sofa. I was looking to fight at 145 in a couple months time anyway. Let's fucking fight Islam, why not? Absolute BMF. I don't think Volk gets enough credit. I'll accept that in the recent years he's finally starting to get the love that he deserved. But I remember when he first started coming up, against Chad Mendes, against Jose Aldo, people really didn't think of him as an entertaining guy at all. They looked at him as a guy who, yes, was dangerous, had power, but he didn't really catch the excitement of the fans. But holy shit, has that changed? But, it's kind of impossible for it not to change, right? The guy is an absolute BMF. Much like a lot of these Australian guys, like him, Dan Hooker, I know it's New Zealand, not Australia, but Izzy, like all of those guys, they're so willing to just take a fight. They don't give a shit. Wherever, whoever, whenever, they don't care. As long as the money's there and the opportunity arises, they'll fucking take that shit. They don't give an absolute bollock. So again, respect to Volk for taking this fight on short notice. It's a shame, right, this situation, because the first fight with Islam, I actually had Volk winning that fight, much like most of the people I talk to. I genuinely believe he won 3 of the 5 rounds. I think going into that 5th round, it was probably 2-2, and I'm pretty confident in saying Volk won that final round, right? He dropped Islam. I think if I remember rightly, he ended the round on top for like a minute, like ground and pound. So it's a shame that he didn't get the victory in that first fight, because here in the second fight, the cards are really stacked against him, right? Like I said, he had hand surgery a couple months ago. He was looking to fight at 145 in January. He's just come off the couch essentially to start training for that fight. And here he is now saying, right, 10 days to fight Islam, which is a fucking nightmare matchup. It's just, I don't see him doing better than what he did in the first fight, especially given the circumstances. I wouldn't even be surprised if Islam was able to choke him this time around, right? Like we saw Volk in some of those positions in the first fight, like with Islam on his back. Granted, he was able to avoid like a lot of the danger, but that was with an excruciating camp under his belt. Right now he's got 10 days. I just don't see him being as prepared as he was in the first fight. Or, who the fuck knows, MMA is crazy, especially this year. There is no pressure whatsoever on Volk. Maybe he just goes in there, you know what I'm saying, without a fuck in the world, and just says, hey, I've survived with this guy on the ground before. I don't need to be as cautious with throwing strikes, because I know I can survive with him down there. And he just walks forward against Islam, throwing bombs, which he is capable of, and maybe he catches Islam, right? Again, if I was a betting man, even though I do not think Volk is going to win this fight, I would put money on Volk as an underdog, because he is capable. Like I said, it means a lot to go into a fight with no pressure. Like when one of the two guys is expected to win and everybody knows it, like it is for Islam on this occasion, it just makes the stakes all that much higher for him. And so with that being said, Volk could go in there and get the upset. I just, unfortunately, as a massive diehard fan of Volk at this point, I don't see that happening, and it's a damn shame. And finally, I left this to the end, guys, because I know a lot of the MMA guys who enjoy this show are going to shit on me for even talking about it and admitting how excited I am. But Dillon Danis fights Logan Paul on the Misfits cards tomorrow night. And like I said, I'm genuinely excited for it. Of course, not because I expect to see some fucking elite level striking in there, but because Dillon Danis has been talking a hell of a lot of shit. I was watching the highlights from the conference today. It just got me even more pumped. I'm surprised the fight's even taken place, honestly, after Dillon Danis bounced the fucking microphone off of Logan Paul's face, gashed open his cheek, you know what I mean? I actually saw that clip from a different angle. After Logan takes the fucking mic to the face, someone bounces a water bottle off the back of his head. So, I can put my hands in the air and honestly admit that I am a hater when it comes to Logan Paul. I admit that he's had a lot of success in life, but there's just something about him that I just don't like. He's such an unlikable guy, right? Like, he seems to be so egotistical. Like, the way he talks about his boxing skills and his credentials makes me cringe, as it does when KSI does the same thing. Like, you aren't fighters, you know what I mean? You're entertaining motherfuckers, I'll give you that. In the WWE, especially for Logan Paul, you know, he's really talented at that. But like, the way these guys even talk about fighting as if they've been in the trenches their whole life, it just makes me cringe, because we know what it is. We know that you guys, it's like they're basically hobbyists, you know what I mean? Like, they found this late in their life, and I would have respect for that if that's how they acted, right? But it's the way they carry themselves as if they've been fighting in the trenches, earning every single bit of gold they've got through blood, sweat and tears, and that's just not the fucking case. And honestly, I really do not rate Logan Paul's boxing skills. Of course, he outweighs Dillon Danis by a shit ton. He's clearly on steroids. I just think if Dillon Danis, who also has terrible fucking boxing skills, I think if he's able to go in there with that world championship mindset, and I know we said this about Ben Askren as well when he fought Jake Paul, but if he can do that and just go in there, be nitty and gritty, march forward, you know, turn this fight into a brawl, because of course, Logan Paul, on paper, could technically beat him on the outside, jab, jab. I just think Dillon Danis has done such an amazing job of getting Logan Paul emotional that he's going to go in there and try and take Dillon's head off. And if Dillon can survive, you know, a couple rounds of onslaught from Logan Paul, I really do suspect Logan Paul to get tired, and for Dillon Danis to possibly go in there and start, you know, digging to the body, landing heavy shots up top, because I can guarantee you Logan Paul is expecting to just steamroll right through Dillon. So if, like I said, if Dillon Danis can make it through those first 2 rounds, I think he can turn this into a real scrap, and I actually can't wait to see it. Like I said, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but it's the truth. So yeah. For now though, guys, that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. If you're looking forward to any of the fights coming up as well, please leave a comment down below with your predictions. I'd love to get back to you when I have the time. Thanks, guys.